Yes, y'all been asking and we got it. The online store is available. We got sweatshirts, we got t-shirts, we got tights, we got shorts, we got headbands. We got it all. Make sure you check out the online store at itsjustdifferentapparel.com and use code podcast to get 10% off.
Welcome to It's Just Different Podcast, where we bring on people who have been where you're trying to go and or have helped countless athletes get there. Y'all, we on stop number 3. I'm in Nacogdoches, Texas at SFA. What's your name and what's your title?
So my name is Jordan Hernandez. They call me Coach Joe, and my position here is assistant coach and recruiting coordinator.
My name is Steve Yang. I am the associate head coach here, and they call me Coach Yang.
It's Coach Lynn Bishop. I'm the head coach here.
I'm excited to be here. I just want to let y'all know.
Excited to have you.
I have not, it's crazy, I have not been to SFA. I could not believe that.
Come on now, oldest town in Texas.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I've enjoyed my time here. We start this podcast off with something that's different. The name of the podcast is called It's Just Different because I think the game of basketball is just different, whether good or bad. Mm-hmm. What would you say is different as it relates to recruiting now versus back then? And back then could be 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, obviously the transfer portal and NIL are two things that have definitely changed the landscape in recruiting. Instead of banking all your hopes in these young freshmen and JUCO transfer kids, now you have kids that have done it, that have experience, and have played at different places. And so now instead of, like I said, banking your hopes on maybe a high school kid or a JUCO transfer, now you have a kid that may be a Division I transfer that played at a higher level that wants more opportunity, or maybe somebody that's at a Division II that, was really outstanding that maybe didn't get that opportunity at the Division I level when they were first coming out. So the landscape has changed a ton. But for us here at Stephen F. Austin, we're just still trying to find good people that can play the game of basketball. That's kind of the mantra that we have. So we just try and find good kids that can hoop.
Yeah. Now, what's my question? Basically, do y'all prefer like JUCO do y'all prefer transfers or high school kids? Like, what does that look? What does that look like? Do you like to have a mix? As far as recruiting, what does that look like?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
I like to have good kids. And
yeah.
So, it's a mixture of getting in high school kids that you can develop, that you see the potential in them, that you can develop, and then also getting in proven products, whether that's at the JUCO level or a Division I transfer or a Division II transfer that's already played and understands what 4-year basketball looks like and a system looks like. So I just want to make sure that I'm diversifying our recruiting so that, when we need to go get a JUCO kid, we haven't been not talking to JUCO coaches for 4 years. When we need to go to a high school game, and then we haven't been recruiting high school kids, and then, we're still active in the portal every year. So I think we just try and diversify so that we can get the best kids and the best talent we can here.
Yep. Joe, when do y'all start recruiting each class?
As far as just in general, we'll just start building relationships as much as we can. And I know Coach Yang's really big on that. And that's something that he's kind of brought on to when he first got here. Is just he starts talking to 29s and 30s early. And I think, but we talk about the change of just recruiting and stuff like that. I think relationships are big, but what the part is NIL stuff that comes in, or just the transfer portal stuff. So, but as early as we can. If you're good, like Coach Bishop said, we want good players. Yeah. And so I think just building that relationship and getting that started, doesn't matter how young you are, and just kind of growing that relationship. That way, when you get to become a junior or senior, now we can start, getting deeper into the process.
Yeah, that's good. Bishop, I've talked to just in conversation when I'm on the circuit, when I'm talking to a lot of parents, one thing that I have found is a lot of parents think if I'm in Virginia, SFA won't look at me, or, if I'm out of state, these certain schools won't recruit me. Mm-hmm. How do you approach recruiting Texas kids and out-of-state kids?
Well, again, I'm going to continue to say the same thing. We at SFA, we're trying to find the best kids. So we're at Boo Williams. We're at Select 40. We're at, Nike Nationals. We're at Under Armour events. We're at Adidas events. We're at all of them because we're scouring the country for the best kids that we can bring back here to Texas and show off for this community. So to parents that say that, I'm going to say this. I'm wearing a purple polo. Most of the time, Coach has on a purple polo as well. So we're there in the stands all over the country trying to find kids that are going to help our program continue to be successful.
Yeah, and You said it 2 or 3 times. Good kids. You're looking for the best kids. They gotta obviously be able to hoop, right?
Sure.
At the end of the day.
For sure.
What specific skills do you look for in kids to play at SFA?
Well, I look for them to be able to score the ball because, again, I don't know about the other coaches up here, but I haven't won a game where we scored less points. So we got to be able to put the ball in the bucket. I think when you get to this level, everybody's going to ask you to play defense. I'm going to ask you to play defense, but defense is a will and a want to. How bad do you want to win the game? Because if you want to win the game, you're going to have kids that are going out there, laying their bodies on the line, taking charges, hustling for rebounds, and diving on the floor. So if you get a kid that can score the ball and then they have that will to win, I think that's a good intangible to have. And then in the recruiting process, I always look for kids that the coach raves about. Coaches, whether it's the JUCO level, high school level, they're there to sell their kids. They want their kids to get a scholarship. And so they're always talking highly of their kids.
Yeah.
But the kid that they rave about, that's the one you want because that's the kid, that they would let babysit their kids.
Yes.
And that's a really good kid off the floor as well. So I look for that in recruiting, and then you can just tell by the way their teammates gravitate around them on the sideline, even when they're walking into the gym, they just got off the bus. You can tell who the kid is that everybody likes being around. And if that's the best player, then you have a really good winning combination right there.
That's real good. Yang, I want to go to you for a second. We got to help these parents out, right? Because I feel like they want to know the information, but some of them just don't know the information. What are some key things they should look for as it relates to the recruitment process when they're talking to coaches and when their athletes are getting recruited?
Yeah, I think it's important for parents to kind of understand where they're sending their kids to. And I always think about, okay, you're going to send your kids to another set of parents too, like us, like we have to look over your child. And so to have the same kind of a focus and same goals that we have as parents too for your kids, like if we're on the same page, I think it helps out a lot more. Just sending them to a program where the coaching staff may not align with you as parents, I think that makes it difficult and tough. I'm not saying religious beliefs, I'm not saying anything or political, but just anything that you can jive with, that you have this little good vibe with the parents and whatnot. So I think that's important. I also feel like a place where you feel like your child's safe and protected, that will be looked over like at all times. Because they are going to be away from mom and dad for a while, and so who's going to be there to support my child on and off the court, in the classroom as well too. So yeah.
And what are some questions parents should be asking when they come on these visits, when their child is on the phone with these college coaches?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is don't hold back.
Yeah.
And I think parents, they kind of I don't want to tiptoe, or even kids in general too. Like when we come here and we have you on a visit, or when you're on a conversation with Coach Bishop or any of us, he'll even sit there and say, do you have any questions? This is for you, get everything you need. And I think with that, it's just where do you see me? Where do you see me playing? What role? All of that stuff that kind of just clears everything, because you don't want to go into a place second guessing or assuming. And so I think just being clear cut about it, even if you need to ask hey, where am I at in your depth chart, or just, you know what I mean? Just the interest level. And I think just being as honest and as real as you can, that's the biggest thing.
Now, you got to go. We did a college tour and got to see the campus, and you were with us. The one thing that stood out to me is how the kids gravitated to you, and it seems like that you have a really good relationship with them. You're also young, right? How do you manage that? Just balancing, I ain't your friend, I'm your coach. It seems like you do a really good job about that. But can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I think at first, I kind of used to see it as a down or negative thing.
Yeah.
But now I see it as the biggest blessing, because I'm able to relate to them and I've done it. And so I think just building that relationship, and when we get to business and stuff, on the court, they know I'm going to push them, and I'm not going to be their friend. That's when our standards are standard, and that's when it comes to I'm here to make you better.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you also can come in my office, you can cry, you can do all this stuff, we can do TikToks. I just want them to be comfortable and almost see me as their biggest sister, just someone that they can really look up to.
Yeah.
So
No, that's good.
Yeah, no doubt. They're going over there to do the TikTok.
They not coming to you, huh?
They ain't coming to me, but she said something that's true. Like,
Yeah.
her youth is a big blessing. And she's been a big blessing to our staff. Just her ability to relate to young people, but also hold them accountable. So,
Yeah.
we always talk about the standard here at SFA, and she's young, but she's holding our young people to that standard.
Yes.
So I appreciate her.
Yeah, that's good. I want to get back to recruitment. I got a lot of questions about recruitment because I really do feel like it's important and it's one of the key things. Like, obviously these kids are playing basketball to get recruited.
For sure.
We talked about what it looks like for a kid to play at SFA, but what are some red flags? And maybe I don't want to use red flags. Maybe that is the word, honestly. What are some red flags? And I want to go to players and parents. What are some red flags when you're going to a game, you're recruiting these players, and you like, yeah, nah, this ain't gonna cut it?
I do my best not to judge the players off of the parents, if I'm being honest. Again, I've heard that saying a long time ago, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I want to cut you off real
Nut
quick.
doesn't fall far from the tree.
But I want to stop you right there. So when you say, okay, so you saying you do your best not to judge the player off the parents. So if the parents acting crazy, like, you still gon'...
Well, I can't judge that book by that cover.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I come to a game and, hey, that's the kid. Hey, that's her mom up there, or that's her dad up there. Okay, I haven't even met this kid. I don't know her individually yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go ahead and have a preconceived notion off of her based off of maybe something that the parent may have said or done.
Yeah.
In an emotional moment. We're parents. I know what it's like up there watching my kid play too. And so I'm not going to preconceive any notion like that. I just think that we always want to make sure that we're recruiting good kids, respectful kids.
Right.
And so how they treat their family is a big piece of it. And so we recruit the family, and you know how it is now. You're recruiting single parents. Sometimes you're, they're living with their grandparents and things like that. But how are they treating their grandparents? How respectful are they of their parents when they come on a visit? Are they listening to when their parents are telling them stuff, or are they kind of glossing over it? I got this, mom. Like, okay, well, you got that to mom. Then what you gonna do that to Coach Joe? You gonna do that to myself and the rest of our staff? So that's a big thing for me, is just how you handle adversity and how you handle people in authority situations, whether that's your coach, whether that's your principal. When we do on-campus visits and things like that, like, we still go into the principal's office and see, all right, is there anything on this report that we need to know about that's crazy? Because, again, we want to make sure we have good kids. We see the basketball stuff. The basketball stuff is easy. Like, we can see that. But now it's that other stuff that ends up catching you up later if you hadn't done the research.
Yeah. And Yang, what advice in general, like, doesn't even have to be in recruiting, these parents it's a lot. I always say, and people get on to me when I say it, but I think the AAU is so chaotic. Like,
y'all need a reality show, I'm telling you.
It's literally a whole reality show. Like, did you say I love it?
I love it. Listen, we talk about it being chaotic, but it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a vessel to create competition at the highest level, right? But like, these are all kids that have the same aspirations to play in college. And so now you're getting all these kids in front of their parents, in front of all these college coaches. Like, it's
so like that creates like excitement. I get that. And maybe when I say chaotic, maybe I just mean maybe I'm just looking at it from the bad side. I just think about the coaches who feeding bull. I think about all the other stuff, and I'm just like, it's a reality show. Like you said.
Well, with anything that's good, there's always going to be negative.
That's true.
It's the same with the internet. You can search bad things on the internet, but you can also find memes that brighten up your day. So I love AAU basketball. I love watching kids compete. I also feel like a little bit of the pride in high school basketball is taking a backseat. I still want that. I still want you to go out there and try and win a UIL championship. I still want you to go out there and try and win a EYBL or a 3SS national championship. And so those kids that take pride in every time they step out there on the floor, which is hard in AAU when you play 2 and 3 games a day. But the kids that do, that's what you're looking for. Who's got that consistent motor all the time.
Yeah.
So.
And what
I was just say, like, I think it's good for these parents because they're passionate about it too.
Yeah.
They've got their money and time invested in this. They're traveling with their kids and all that. I am okay with you being passionate and cheering on and being all in because this is all in. Like you want your own parents to be all in with you. Now it's just being under control in certain stands too. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think AAU is good. The one thing I will add on too is just like understanding that going from one program to another whatnot, you have to understand your now you have to relearn
Yeah.
their system, their personnel, the coach, how he or she is and all that too. So that may, take time for these young kids. And plus they got their own school. And plus they may be playing another sport and all that too. So bouncing around may not help or
Yeah.
it may help depending how the player is. So it's a predicate on the player itself. But I do believe that when you're bouncing around so many different programs, it could hurt you if you're not fully invested and you don't know how to adjust to the system or the coaching style.
Yeah, that's good.
To put a ball on that a little bit though, I'm never, again, people in the stands, parents, things like that. I can't tell people how to act. That may not be how I'm going to act. But I also come from a point where I would rather parents be in the stands supporting their kids than they not in the stands.
That's a fact.
Kids.
Yes.
And so, having coach kids that haven't had their parents there before, I have a value on people being there and supporting their kids.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Much attention now, I think, in
Yeah.
the women's game. Like now we got obviously like the Leah Chavez and all of that, but like now I feel like there's so much film and there's so much like photos or video like of just everything nowadays. So I feel like the game is just continuing to grow.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yang, you said something earlier. You just said something about bouncing around. Does that affect you guys? Does that affect the players' recruitment when you see Ashley go from team to team to team? Like, does that play an effect into their recruitment if SFA is recruiting them?
I mean, we got players that play from different teams all over. I mean, I always say this, like today's day and age, everybody's going to be a JUCO program just because of the portal and all that too. So it matters how you handle it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to re-recruit your players every year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even ourselves. So, I mean, I think it doesn't matter per se. It matters about being in the present and the season now. We don't know what's going to happen next season, but we do know what this season is going to bring as long as we handle our business now in this season. So we would hope our players to stay because it makes it better if you're in a longer relationship. You understand the players, the coaches, and each other better in the community. It's easier for you to perform, but we don't control that. And we're going to do what we can as a staff to make sure that, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we are. And these are our standards and expectations in hopes that they can stick around.
Right. And I guess my question was, maybe I said that wrong. I was talking AAU. Like if you see a AAU player that go from team to team to team, does that affect you or you guys when y'all are recruiting?
No, I don't think so. Because, I mean, like Coach Bishop mentioned, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know the ins and outs. You don't know what's going on. There may be some other things that you can't just judge off the muscle. You know what I'm saying? Kids may be going around because maybe the AAU team's broken up or maybe some beef, whatever it is, with the parents, with the coaches, and all that stuff. We don't control that. We understand that these young kids are, sometimes it's not their decision. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, maybe a mom or coach or so is making a decision at the age of 14, 15, 16. But whenever they come to us, then they're old enough to make those decisions themselves. But at that age, like we understand, we get it. We just want to see you hoop.
Yeah.
And then we'll recruit you as is. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Bishop, you were talking earlier about kids competing for the state championship and competing for EYBL. Are you a state champion?
I am.
Oh my gosh.
Respect that.
Stand up. Stand up.
I just can't. Like every time somebody asks me that, because they'll ask me what high school I went to, and I say Duncanville, and they'll be like, "Oh, so you won?" No, I did not. They literally won the year that I left. They went back to back to back. So I guess I could say I have. Listen, I can just say that we was a part of the foundation, maybe. I guess.
They stood on your shoulder.
Yeah, I guess we'll say that. But I'm sure it's nothing like I got to witness that with my brother. He was state champions. They went 40-0, and just seeing that feeling, I know you being a part of it, it's nothing like winning state.
For sure.
What's your thoughts? So, like, how do you feel about the whole prep? Like, a lot of kids now are going prep. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, there's two thoughts on that. I'm not against prep schools either. I think, you get to a point where you got to make the best decision for you. And so Are you needing to go to a prep school? Are you needing to for focus?
Yeah.
Because you're not focused where you're at. Okay, well, we need to get you out of that environment so you can be focused on school and basketball.
How does prep focus you though?
Well, it may be getting you out of an environment that you're already in. Is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
I got you.
Maybe getting you out of an environment that you may already be in that may not be suitable.
Okay.
Or best suited for you. So I think there's a little bit of that to it. Also, I think playing at a national schedule, and that's probably what's going to happen when you get to college.
Yeah.
So there's a piece of that. But I also think with the high school team and things like that, there's the pride that comes with playing with your friends and the people you grew up with since middle school, and playing in a system and understanding your coach, like Coach says all the time, and understanding the system and being able to have some pride and winning a state championship. So, to this day, that picture's still in my dad is the coach.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest basketball moments of my career, just winning a state championship because of what it meant for, the city of Dallas at the time. So, I go back and forth on it. There's times where, you see a kid stay at a high school and you're like, they probably could have went to a prep school and further their development. And then there's times where a kid goes to a prep school and you're like, man, you had a good thing going. You probably should have just stayed and finished where you're at. So it depends on every situation. And, you just hope that all these kids have the right guidance and people in their corner telling them the right thing.
Did you know that I got 2 books? If you're looking for a good book to read, make sure you check both of them out at ashleyandroberts.com. One called The Little Girl with Big Dreams, about an ambitious little girl who overcomes every no to say yes to her dream. And another called Changing Lanes, using sports as a vehicle to drive success on and off the court.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. And I feel like I go back and forth too, because I truly feel like it's nothing like playing with your like what you said, with your friends and playing at your high school, like competing for a state championship. And I do think that's why I asked about like focus. I guess it depends on the prep school that you do go to. But I feel like most preps, like you're at home, like you're just missing the academics piece, in my personal opinion. I feel like you miss a little bit of the academics piece, but on the flip side of that, you get to travel and play a national schedule, like versus high school. Half the games is probably gonna be blowouts. Like, are you really getting better? Like, what does that look like?
Challenging their discipline a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, these prep schools, some of them are taking online classes.
Yes.
Well, some of our kids are taking online classes. Like, you're gonna be disciplined enough to take care of your work while you're traveling.
That's true.
On a national schedule, because that's what you're gonna have to do when you get to college. Or are you gonna be lazy, and then that's ultimately gonna come out in the wash anyway.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you got to have people in your corner that are finding the right fits for you, that are allowing you to be challenged, but also be successful while being challenged. So I think it's just dependent on the kid, and that's why people need to know their kids.
Yeah.
I'll add to that too. It's like I think it also matters, like not going to a school to be a part of their platform. Like, I believe if you're good at what you do, you create your own platform. Like, some kids may be going to certain schools or prep schools just to try to be a part of a program. Whereas if they stick to where they're at, like Coach is talking about, you stay where you're at, or so too, you could produce, and then that's a platform you put out there too, and so they'll come too. Because us coaches, our job is come find you. If you do your job, you do well, we'll come find you. Whether you're playing at this prep school or that high school, right? So it doesn't really matter on that. I think it's just at the end of the day, you still have to do what you do best and just play the game of basketball. And if it's going at this school, it is what it is. But just making sure that you still produce your numbers, your playing time, whatnot, so that we can recruit you.
Yeah.
It don't matter where you play, in a Coliseum or an ant pile. If you can hoop, we need to come.
So, okay. So do you believe that if you're good enough, we'll find you?
Yes.
I do not believe that.
Why do you not?
I don't believe it. Why? Because I feel like there are so many good players, right? There's no way that you're going to know all the good players. I believe, yes, if you're good enough and in the right situation, they'll find you. Because if I play on Yang Elite and my coach don't have no connections, we're playing in all the right tournaments, but we're on court 85, there's no way that you would know about me.
So I'm gonna say, okay, to your point, yeah. I mean, we have a certain number of staff members on our staff, obviously, to see. We don't have a lot of eyeballs. We do rely on a lot of our cohorts or colleagues or so, because I always tell recruits, I can't recruit everybody. I cannot recruit everybody, but I can definitely help. If I can't get a girl, I don't need a point guard, and one of my friends need one at this college, or so, hey man, I saw this girl at this court, what was such and such. But we have to understand that you do your job, and it's the coach's job too to help out. But social media helps out with that as well too. The recruits, the players, and the parents have to do their part as well, and market their child, or they have to market themselves, right? So it's a two-way street too. I do believe that it's hard too if there's someone's playing a diamond in the rough in a small town and all, but the newspaper or the social media will blow up that player up, and then that's gonna kind of spark something up. So I get what you're saying. I get that. However, I do believe that we are trying to find the best, and everybody wants that. Oh, she putting up 35 points a game. Okay, where's she at? The competition does matter as well too. Is she doing it against boo-boo kids or kids that can really hoop? Right. That does matter in a sense too, to my opinion. But yeah.
It all matters. But if you over there balling on court 85 and we're me and Coach Joe gonna walk over there and look. Like it matters.
But if it's court 85 and you on court 6, you ain't gonna even hear the noise on court 85.
I'm gonna hear the noise. I might not hear it when it's happening, but you created noise.
Yeah.
And if you create noise, we're gonna find it.
I agree with that. Staying on that for a little bit, I want to help the parents out for a second. You know, some of them think kind of what we just said. Like if I go to a Nike Nationals or a Run for the Roses or whatever, any tournament, I go to this tournament, I'm gonna get recruited. What does the recruitment process look like for y'all? Like from getting to the tournament and seeing a kid, like what's the process like?
I'll let them take this.
I think, okay, just to kind of, I guess, to hit on the parents, please. Like, yes, it's important to get your kid exposure, and yes, it's important to play on a great team, but it's also important for your kid to play. And so, like, that's my thing is, like, you know, yes, I'm on the top, whatever, Texas EYBL team, whatever it is. But if your kid's not playing and you're not getting minutes, then it's not benefiting your kid. And I don't know how we can recruit a kid.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please? I'm sorry.
If your kid's not playing, like, it's hard to recruit, you know, and it's hard to base off of the competition. Like, yes, it's great competition, but if you're sitting there the entire time, then we can't, you know what I mean? And so, yes, we can watch it in high school, but I think it's so important for kids to play. That is the biggest thing. Like, you have to get playing time to play.
She just said it right there. Coach just said it right there. You have to play. If you don't play, we don't know you can play. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you can shake and bake and do all that stuff, but you still got to be in a game-like setting. And so it's no different from our kids. If they want to go play pro overseas and whatnot, they got to play. They can't just expect it just because you suited up on a high-level P5 school don't mean you're going to play pro. They still want to see the numbers. They still want to see that produce. You know what I'm saying? We have players sending pro at our level all the time. At the end of the day, they want to see you put out the numbers and go out there and perform. Now, at that, I will say, being at those tournaments, on those Nike and all that stuff, you are at a bigger stage. So you have an opportunity to showcase yourself. However, you create the opportunity for yourself. And if you're there, you don't have to play on the nice course. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You can play on the other course, like Coach was talking about, make that noise and all that. We'll find you. We'll walk our way around. But if you just sitting on the bench and you on the nice course, but you're on the bench and clapping and being an All-American practice player, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, no. You go to Nike Nationals, that's fine. That you will be seen. That doesn't mean you'll be recruited. And so, you're playing in front of all the coaches, but you're not playing. So we saw you.
Yeah.
But how can we recruit you off of that? And I think it's so funny. We call these exposure events. You get exposed.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for you to either put up or shut up. All right, you think you all of that. Now you're on the big stage. You're on the big court. Now what do you look like?
Yeah.
Are you not playing? Well, there's a reason why you're not playing. Coaches like winning too. Like,
right.
And coaches hating on my game. Coaches like winning. So
you producing, you gonna get on the floor.
No doubt. Performance breeds tolerance.
Yeah.
Right? So like if you hooping, we figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. So I always think that you can go to these bigger events, but you gotta be careful about how you're exposing your child. Because a big part of the game is mental. You want your kid to have swagger and confidence when they're coming out there, and if you put them on that stage too early, too quickly, it could have a reverse effect on what you want.
Yeah, that's good. Now, can we talk to the parents and players who they're not on the EYBL team? Since we said Nike Nationals, I'm gonna use that. But they go to Chicago. You got hundreds of teams there. Sure. And you have this kid who's putting up some numbers, But again, they might be playing on let's just say, an independent team, and they didn't get no coaches, right? Like, can you talk about that? Like, how can they get on the radar? What does that look like?
I think just the biggest thing that we talked about too is like connections as well. Like it talks with your head coach or your AU coach, and just depends on too. Like we're still gonna get word of mouth,
Right.
And you talk about like the Run for Roses and stuff. And I know we mentioned the Chicago, but like we still walk around,
Right.
Like so, regardless of like yes, these are the EYBL courts or these might be the top courts. Like we're still gonna sit on a game that's not an EYBL team or Adidas team or whatever, an independent team. And if it's a good game, it literally takes one good thing.
Yeah.
Like it could be you diving on the floor, and then all of a sudden, coach is gonna be like, "Hold on, like let me sit for a minute for 10 seconds and let me just watch a little bit more."
Yeah.
Okay, now he's invested. And so now you get added to the list. Like, you know what I mean? It could be the slightest things that just stand out.
Yeah.
And I think that with that, it's just he talks about the opportunity. Like whatever the opportunity is, like to play great competition, like you just gotta take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Maybe let me add to that too. You got to do something to be talked about. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter what court you are. You got to do something for people to about you. You know what I'm saying? And if you do that, then yeah, we will come and see what you're and on about. Because at the end of the day, like I think as college basketball players or coaches, we see game. Game recognizes game, right? Well, you could be playing against like not great competition. However, if you can play and you can hoop, you can hoop. There's just we understand that. There's some kids that grew up, like Coach mentioned, grew up with some teammates that just want to play AAU with them because hey, that's my girl, that's my friend since grade school. I want to play with them until high school. We get that. We understand that. The thing is, can you still produce and play like the way? And can you translate that to college? We have to make that decision, but you have to still play your game. Don't seek to your level. Play up and let them try to catch up to you. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it was you, Bishop, that talked about one of y'all talked about social media early on. I think that's a big part of recruitment.
Sure.
You know, being able to utilize social media, being able to get footage. Maybe you're not getting the exposure, but you got the highlight tape that you're posting. What makes a great highlight tape?
These two highlight tapes all the time.
So y'all can talk about it.
Coach Jay, go ahead. You go first.
Hey, listen, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. Highlight tapes.
Hey, look at this kid.
4 a.m. Hey, this kid can go. Can go that much?
And I'll be like, well, which kid? You sent 5. Like, so which kid we talking about?
Well, I mean, every single highlight tape, you're gonna see him make a shot, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna. The one thing I look at too is like, can it translate to our game? Is that our game? Like meaning like what we do, our system, or what coach wants. Like, yeah, we get up, yeah,
Shooting it, we're defending. Yeah, we're
Okay.
down.
Yeah.
like I mean, the goal doesn't change at every level, right? From JUCO, high school, AAU, even college, the goal is gonna be the goal. The ball is gonna be the ball. So if you can put the ball in the hole, that looks good, and I know that's what my coach wants. You know what I'm saying? So if I see something and I do my research and I figure out, okay, is she somebody that we should go after and all that too? I have to filter her. I have to like her first. If I don't like her and love her, he ain't gonna like her and love her. You know what I'm saying? So I do look at it. I look at to see how her. I mean, every ball is gonna go in that video, the highlight. But how are they getting in? You know what I'm saying? And what's the moves defensively? Like how are they guarding someone? So all those little body movements, even full tapes. If I'm watching like a full game, not a highlight, like what are they doing as they're walking off the court? Are they head down, bad attitude, or body language? All that matters for me. And then if it's somebody I can mess with, then I'll forward to Coach Bishop or Coach Joe.
How long should a highlight tape be?
I say no more than 2 minutes. No more than 2 minutes. Yeah. I have ADHD or something like that too. You know what I'm saying? I ain't what? But yeah.
I think you could tell though off the bat too, and I think what matters too, we talked about is just the competition too.
Yeah.
Like even when we get overseas players or national players, like we got to figure out like, okay, what league is this? Or just kind of figure out like, okay, who's the competition? Because like it has to translate to our game over here.
Yeah.
And so we like to play fast, so it might look fast, but who are they playing? And so I think that's a big thing too, is like who's the competition.
Yeah.
One thing when I'm talking with parents about when we're talking about recruitment or different schools, I always talk about fit. I think fit matters. Like you can love a school all day long. A coach can love you all day long, but if it's not the right fit, it's not going to work. Bishop, how can a player, and I guess parent, because they're together, determine if a program is the right fit?
Ask the right questions and be looking for that as you're walking around the campus. Know what you're looking for before you get there. I think fit is so important. I think that's why we've had just an influx of kids just hop into the transfer portal is because they go for the shiny objects and not the
Yeah.
right fit. School is harder than it's ever been when a kid goes to college.
Yeah.
Basketball is harder than it's ever been when you go to college. So basketball's hard. I'm away from home and I ain't playing. I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
it ain't a fit.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out what the fit is for you so that you can thrive and you can have success there as a freshman, sophomore, and throughout your career. But not enough people look into the fit. They just look into the shiny objects. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a nice Coliseum practice facility. They wear Nike, they wear Under Armour, they wear whatever. And that's the things that can get you messed up in this game.
Yeah.
Can I add to that too? Coach, the one thing is like when you're on a visit to parents and recruits out there, like you have to see the small details that coaching staff does, even the players too. Like the small details matters. Like what are they doing? Like how are they treating you? The conversations with you, just little things. Even like this is kind of crazy, but holding the door and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like conversations and what are they talking to you about on these visits? I mean, how they treat you matters, and that's where you can see. Like I talked about earlier, is like are they going to treat my daughter the same way I treat my daughter? You know what I'm saying? Like that matters a lot because a lot of times girls are in the portal because of what? Because treatment, right? Or not playing time, but treatment. And so you get to test that and see that, get the eye test when you go on these visits and seeing how they are treating you. Is the head coach around? How's the head coach with me? You know what I'm saying? Is the head coach treating me a certain way? Is he or she giving me the time a day? And so I think those are things when you go, these parents have got to see when they go on visits. Okay, the small little things, small details matters most than the big shiny things that coach is talking about.
That's good. Now, in particular at SFA, and y'all all have kind of talked about it throughout the whole episode, but what type of athlete is the right fit at SFA? What do they have to be able to do? What does that look like?
The right athlete. So I want athletes. I want people that want to get up and down. I want people that want to compete though. Like we have to have competition at a high level. So I want kids that ultimately want to compete, but are also intelligent and are students of the game. You can't grow in this game if you're only just about the skills. You got to understand the game. And so we always talk about being students of the game. We watch a ton of film individually and as a team, just so that we're constantly growing. Because we need our kids to evolve throughout the season so we can continue to get better.
Yeah, I like it. Now, we done talked to these parents a lot. We done talked about recruitment. As we kind of wind down, I want to get into SFA. I want to talk a little bit more about SFA. What adjustments have you guys had to make moving into a new conference?
Still figuring that out, honestly. Obviously there's adjustments in travel and, things like that. And our weight room schedule just because of the travel being slightly different. But we're still building this plane as we're flying back into the Southland. So there hasn't been really any adjustments from recruiting to, how we prepare for the most part. We're just trying to continue to put the best product out on the floor.
What about you in particular? Going from associate to head?
Yes.
What has been your biggest adjustment?
You can never truly be ready. It's like having a kid. You think you're ready, and then
Until that thing comes.
all of a sudden you up at 4 a.m. trying to sleep train. So, I think the biggest change that I had to get used to last year was just I had to get my social battery up.
Yeah.
It's not just about the time that I'm with the team in practice and I'm with my coaches. It's like, all right, now you got to go to this event. Now you got to go talk here. Now you got to go speak here. And when you go speak, people are expecting you to be happy about talking about being the head coach of the Lady Jacks.
Yeah.
There are days where you don't feel your best or you're not, something may have happened in your personal life. But guess what? You still have to put on the best face for, our university and for our organization. And so that was probably the biggest adjustment for me is just making sure I'm always kind of ready to go.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, it's been a blessing to be here in Nacogdoches for 10 years. And, my family's here. I got a kid with Nacogdoches on her birth certificate.
Yeah.
So I got roots there now. So
I love it. What should people know about SFA that they might not know?
How beautiful it is. I think, you don't come to Nacogdoches unless you're coming to Nacogdoches. You don't drive through on the way to somewhere. You got to be headed here. And so I don't think people understand how beautiful the city is, how beautiful the university is. And then, our Coliseum and practice facility that we're sitting in now, the the amount of detail that went into both of them, and the amount that people care about these student athletes, not only on the floor but off the floor, is really beautiful to be a part of.
I love it, man. We start this podcast off with the game. I like to end with you, with the school, with the conference. What makes SFA different?
I'm going to go back to the people. Again, we talked about the sustained success at Stephen F. Austin. What are we now? The 7th winningest women's basketball
Shout out to that.
of all time. But the people in this community care about women's basketball. And you don't become the 7th winningest program unless you have continued people coming in and out this program that care at a high level, from Sue Gunter to Gary Blair to Brandon Snyder to Mark Kellogg, and countless players, Rosie Walkers, Portia Roberts, and on down the line, Taylor Ross. I can keep going, Johnson sisters, but it's about the people. So when you started this off with recruiting, like that's what I'll continue to go back to, is we got to recruit good kids, and myself as the head of everything, I got to recruit good coaches to go get good kids. So just getting good people in and out here that these fans want to watch and root for.
This has been so good. I knew it would be, though. I enjoyed talking to y'all. I enjoyed this episode. I thought that y'all gave a lot of great information. Make sure y'all follow the podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Apple, Spotify. And if you ain't following on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing at this point. Follow the page and make sure y'all keep up with the Jacks.
Make sure you follow this young lady. She's doing amazing work. Action Jacks.
What is it, like this, right?
Yeah.
Action Jacks. We out.
Are you looking for film review, film breakdown sessions, consultations, or even ebooks to help guide you through this thing called basketball? Well, I got you covered. Make sure you visit AshleyAnnRoberts.com for all your basketball needs.